Erskine Weidman.
Hi, I'm Eli Gathright.
And you're watching No Enemies Here, Wargaming News.
Yeah, baby!
GMT in the world of what's new, Fields of Fire 2 with the old breed. A solitaire game designed by Ben Hull. Mike Denson's game, The Last 100 Yards. This is a two-player tactical war game. Space Empires, Close Encounter. This is an expansion by Jim Crone. BLASTPOP has a couple of videos out, Turn 4 and Turn 5 of Omaha Beachhead with an after-action report. Both have after-action reports. This is an after-action report. Tim Korchnoi of Bare Balls Wargaming is taking a look, or doing, Totaler Krieg, Dice of Decision, Parts 1 and Parts 2. AJ Toynbee of Hexes and Soldiers is taking a look at fighting formations. Gross Deutschland Motorized Infantry Division. Battle for Kharkov. This is a game designed by Chad Jensen. The Battle for Kharkov expansion is designed by Brian R. Van Nortwick. Published by GMT. The Player's Aid are unboxing Command and Colors Ancients from GMT. They are also unboxing Field of Fire Volume 2 with the new breed. With the new breed, eh? With the old breed. Game designed by Ben Hull, published by GMT. Jonathan Townsend, the soft-spoken but formidable foe, is giving us a gameplay example of Dixie Bull Run 1861 by Tom Dalglish, published by Columbia Games. And talking about Fields of Fire Unboxing Volume 2, Jeff McAleer of the Gaming Gang is unboxing Fields of Fire. ARDWULF of ARDWULF'S LAIR is unboxing ASL Starter Kit number 3. The Gimpy Gamer is doing another Top 5 Solitaire games. Gimpy also has a prototype of World at War 85. Also, Gimpy gives us his final thoughts on Hearts and Minds, Vietnam. Designed by John Paniski, published by Compass Games. MAURO FAINA with Il Janizzero Episode 60, Wargame and English. Let's master them. Mark Walker, the brains behind Tiny Bata Publishing and Flying Pig Games, has a video out on Old School Tactical Volume 3, Pacific Theater, 1942 to 45. The man famously known as Calandale, Enrico Viglino, is taking a look at Talon, a game designed by Jim Crone, published by GMT. I actually have this game. I'm yet to get it on the table so I can play it. And here's a new channel that AJ Toynbee of Hexes and Soldiers, aka Tough Guy, turned me on to. I didn't know about these guys. Little Wars TV and 10 tips for starting a wargaming club. They also have a video out on the 75th anniversary D-Day Wargame trailer. This is the first footage from their upcoming new season of Incredible Wargame. You want to know what's happening on the big board? I'll tell you what's happening on the big board. Kevin, CEO, Big Man, President for Life, is back. And he's playing Gadarian 40/4, the real number 4. Well, I'm gonna have to figure that out, but that's what he's doing. Kevin has another video out, Less Than 60 Miles, Combat and Kitchen Sink. Again, /5. Kevin is also checking out The Bloody Beach, Omaha, D-Day, June 6th to 8th, 1944. This is a tactical combat series game. Mo of Mo's Game Table is unboxing Talon 1000 from GMT, designed by Jim Crone. Jeff the Capuano, Thunder East. What kind of game is this anyway? Is the title of his video. Thunder East, a game by Frank Chadwick, published by Victory Point Games. The chief of Bonding with Board Games is taking a look at a dicey business and even dicier business. These are books written by Paul Combin. The chief also checks out, he gives us a preview of David Thompson's new Europe Divided, published by Phalanx. And the chief's doing a video bender. He's unboxing Command and Colors Medieval Early Period. This is a game published by GMT. And looking at the chief's eyes, he probably thought he was doing a video for his Scotch Test Dummies channel. And the punk rocker of war games, Dave of the Centurions Review, has got something to say.
Yeah!
Dave here, welcome to Centurions Review, the punk rock band of war game review institutions. This week on our website we're doing something a little bit different. I'm not doing a review this week. Instead, I'm having a little article about the 10 games I like the most by category. I think you guys will get a real kick out of it. On our YouTube channel, we're doing a first look at tanks from Gale Force 9. It's a miniature game that comes with some Sherman tanks and a Panther tank. Looks like it's kind of a cool little tank skirmish game. Also on our YouTube channel, we're doing a first look at Starfire from Task Force Games. It's been called Starfleet Battles Light. It looks pretty interesting. Also, we're doing its sister game, Starfire 2. It looks like it's pretty similar to Starfire 1, but it has rules for carriers and fighters, so that should be pretty interesting. And we're also doing a first look at the expansion, which is known as Starfire 3 Empires, which has all sorts of interesting rules about alien races, creating your own star systems, creating planets, and even choosing what type of atmosphere you want on your planet. So that should be pretty interesting. I hope to see you guys soon on our website and on our YouTube channel. Thanks.
Counterproductive Games is doing a special Sergeant's D-Day gameplay 75th anniversary game of the Normandy Invasion.
And the winner of the personally signed copy of Dawn of the Zeds is Eric Burden.
Eric Burden, congratulations. Email me at noenemieshere@videotron.ca. That's noenemieshere@videotron.ca. Give me all your vitals.
Hi, I'm Gregory M. Smith, and Dan asked me to do another head-to-table segment, which for some reason always makes me think of a guillotine, but anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit today about how I came about doing this crazy game, America Bomber, Evil Queen of the Skies. Yeah, I love that name. Basically, I was working on a game which should be out later this year called Night Fighter Ace, where you've got 30 different types of BF-109 and Focke-Wulf 190s, and you're going after America B-17 bombers, basically. And I thought, well, that's the reverse of B-17 Queen of the Skies, because you're going after the bombers. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, that's not really the reverse. I thought you would actually be bombing America in a German bomber, and having played Secret Weapons of the Luftwaffe video game way back when, probably too much, I said, hey, they had plans to do all that. Well, sure enough, I researched on, the internet and some of my books, and Jet Planes of the Third Reich's one of them. And I was like, wow, they had all kinds of these crazy aircraft designed. I mean, there's specifications and everything for bombing America. And so this was this is kind of how I came about getting the idea of America Bomber, Evil Queen of the Skies. Plus, I want to do some, pay some homage to Glenn Frank, who created the original B-17 Queen of the Skies, which is probably the genesis of this whole genre of solo wargaming, where you take charge of a bomber or some type of weapon system, and you care about your crew and you kind of progress as you go along. So I thought, you know what, I'll do that. I'll just make it literally the reverse of B-17 Queen of the Sky. And so I came up with this America Bomber idea. I started working on it. But I didn't want to just directly reverse engineer B-17, because of that. It's like sometimes you don't really have a lot of decisions in that game. You're kind of along for the ride. Don't get me wrong, I love the game. I've been playing it forever. But I thought I wouldn't just direct reverse engineer it. So I added a few things like the research track, where every month you get a chance to get some technological improvement. I came up with sort of streamlined the combat system so it plays a bit faster, actually, cleaner. And so I came up with 5 different bombers that they had. And of course, as you progress, you can actually start off with, well, I like the ME-364. There's several Focke-Wulf 300s, another starter bomber. And then you come up with, as time goes by, you can advance to the TA-400 or the Arado 555 jet. So that was kind of wild. And so, of course, they actually had plans to bomb America from the Azores. And this, of course, presupposes a lot of things, like they were winning, and that's a bit of a far stretch. But this is sort of an alternate history game, obviously. It starts in 1947. I actually had a fan wrote like a 4-page alternate history, how this would come to be. I mean, you have to assume things like they wanted Kursk, they wanted Stalingrad, D-Day was repulsed. I mean, all kinds of ridiculous things kind of have to happen in order to make them. But it's just kind of silly fun. It's alternate history. Fans are good, though. I found a list of targets the Germans were planning on bombing on the American East Coast. Probably about a dozen. So I had a fan come up and go, oh no, we need to have more targets than that. So thanks to Frederick LSR for doing that. Of course, another fan said, I think it was Frederick again, so it might have been somebody else, said, oh, let's have a cool cover, basically taken from B-17. So that was kind of fun that they did that. And in fact, I had another fan said, oh, your prototype counters. So I put this up on Facebook as sort of a playtest, print and play playtest. Another guy said, oh, your counters are nice enough. So he made the really nice counter sheet. And this is all for a game that doesn't even exist yet. So that was kind of gratifying. Compass has agreed to do it. When we're going to start in earnest, I'm not sure. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But I knew I was on the right track when Bill Beckman, he's a member of the Greenville Mafia Wargame Club, who has been playing B-17 Queen of the Skies for probably 30 years, or whenever it came out. He said he loved the game, and he actually had some good improvements. And so that's what playtesting's for, and so thank you, Bill Beckman, for that. But I think it's going to be fun. It's clean, it's playable, it's good alternate history. It kind of really, though, drives home the point of why it was so important that we beat Nazi Germany in World War II. I mean, because at the end of the game, 1948, you're dropping atomic bombs on New York City and Chicago, and so it gets a bit crazy. But it really points it out. I mean, it's... once again, I just have to say we owe a debt of gratitude to the greatest generation, because thank heavens we won that one. But a little bit of alternate history, but that's kind of how it came about. I was just thinking, hey, this reverse would be actually the real reverse of Queen B-17. So that's about it. A few other games in the works. You know, how else do I get game ideas? Well, like for example, the Zeppelin Raider. I had a fan say, "Hey, you need to work on the Gothas. Where's my Gotha game?" And I was like, I don't know that much about Gothas. Let me start getting some books, like the First Blitz, German G-type bombers of World War I. And there's just something really pretty about these World War I aircraft. I mean, they're just kind of neat. But these things were sort of the B-17s of World War I. Well, the Zeppelin Staaken giant bomber also. So, am I going to make a game on it? I need another game designed like a hole in the head, but I'm going to probably do this later when I have time. I think it's an interesting topic. But that's kind of how sometimes I get game ideas from fans of previous things I've done. But anyway, that's about it for now. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, baby.
DVG and David Thompson's For What Remains. What Remains is a skirmish-level wargame set in a post-apocalyptic near future. It's a two-player competitive game and can be played solitaire. And what you get with this game? No. What you get with these games, there are 3 core games that you can pledge for in For What Remains. Dan Verson is a marketing genius. And each core game contains the following approximate components. Knowing Dan Verson, you're gonna get 10 times that. But anyways, here goes. You get a rule book, a campaign guide, 2 faction guides, 2 AI reference sheets, 2 ability reference sheets, 9 battleground tiles, 8x8, 10 oversized character reference cards, 10 oversized artificial intelligence reference cards, 54 1-inch character counters, 6 2-inch character counters, 62 1-inch circular action tokens, and a lot more. Bad Crow Games and Company of Heroes. This is a real-time strategy or turn-based World War II 2-player game. I'm just gonna rattle off what you get in the core set because there's way too much stuff in this game and we're gonna be here for years. So here goes! The core set of Company of Heroes board game, you get 32 vehicles, 150 infantry figures, 55 custom dice, 44 figure trays, 120 acrylic markers, and 12 production tiles. Sergio Schiavi's World War II The Italian Campaign 1943 to 1944 war game from Salerno to Rome is on its last legs on Kickstarter. And what you get with this game are 2 maps of standard size, and each hex represents approximately 5 kilometers of real terrain. The counters represent brigades, regiments, battalions, or groups of 15 to 30 tanks. The time scale is 1 turn equals 1 month. This is a 2-player game. Playing time is 2 hours for the shortest scenario and 6 to 12 hours for the entire campaign. Complexity is 3 out of 5. Solitaire suitability 2.5 out of 5. Consim World Expo 2019 in Arizona, featuring Monster Game Con 19 June 22nd to June 29th, 2019 in Tempe, Arizona. Spiel's The Mary and Tom Show, episode 80. These guys are just killing it. Okay, we got Harold on Games here with a actual video podcast, not an audio cast. And you know what? I bust a guy, and the guy gives me advice, life advice, believe it or not. Harold Buchanan gives me life advice. I mean, what does he have to teach me? Come on. Anyways. And by the way, I have taken his advice. I've learned to shut up on certain things, not call out certain organizations. But anyways. So he sent me this clip, and it's a 10-minute video clip, and I think it's a preview. I'm a bit confused here, but it's a preview. And I'll play the whole clip. So guys, relax, have a cup of coffee. It's Saturday. Where you going anyways? And let's listen to Harold.
So Trevor, we've done a podcast, and we had a video opportunity to take some pictures of the things you've been working on. So I thought it would be interesting to hear from you what you've been working on, maybe do a little show and tell.
Yeah.
So have at it.
A great idea, Harold. So probably should cover some things that were recently published. You and I collaborated on the campaigns of 1777, Strategy and Tactics issue number 316 came out this summer.
I like that number because it's biblical.
It totally is, yeah, John 3:16. And it was interesting because of this snarl that happened on the cover. And I think this has been reported, but let's cover it again. So the game is Campaigns of 1777, but the lead article that I wrote on the topic was Year of Decision, 1777. And somehow that stuck. So my apologies.
That's
that was
right.
Not intentional on our part.
There wasn't a behind-the-scenes campaign
No.
with the article name on the cover.
No, but it was serendipitous, and I guess I got on there on the cover. So it was always a bucket list item of me to be in Strategy and Tactics, and maybe I don't need to design a game now for it. I got the lead article.
Well, it was for me too, and then we also had our friend Terry Leeds
Do the map. That's
so
right.
All three of us knocked out a bucket list item.
There it is. So let me just go over the article real quick. So this was a real fun thing to do. This was such a pivotal year in the American Revolutionary War.
Right.
Your game captures it perfectly with the decisions the British leadership had at the time. And so what I wanted to do was, through artwork, through maps, etc., describe the story, the decision process, the whole Lake Champlain area, the whole great options of splitting up the northern colonies from the middle colonies and so forth, and the options there, and the rivalries between the British leadership in Canada, London, and New York City, and the efforts to take the capital in Philadelphia. So fantastic! I think you'll like the article, and for your
It's
readers,
a terrific article, absolutely.
and the map that Terry Leeds you hinted at already. Let me throw this out here as well. Bring it all in there, but it covers the same area of focus. Point-to-point map, beautiful artwork, great displays for the forces, and I just love it. Naval movement, everything factored in. Throw in some of the counters here as well. Let's see, get those upside down. So, S&T 316. If you haven't seen it, take a look. Great game.
Yeah, and Terry Leeds is such a gift on the art that he makes me look like a better designer. No question.
Is this the second time you worked with him?
It is. Yes, and he's going to do South China Sea too.
Oh, he is.
Which will be a different sort of map.
Yeah, very going from 200 years ago to the modern day.
Right.
Yeah, very good. Another item that I did recently, jumping over from Strategy and Tactics to C3I number 32. This one just came out in the summer as well. I've kind of taken on this role of designing what I call counterfactual history articles. And what I mean by that is articles that you tweak a variable in a scenario, thank you, and then play that in a game setting. In this particular case, we're looking at the game Ukraine 43. We're looking at the situation where the Allied invasion of Sicily is delayed a month and a half, and as a result, the Russian counteroffensive after Kursk hits German forces that were not there historically because they haven't been called to Sicily. And so you have a chance to play with mobile German forces on defense that weren't historically there. And it provides an interesting opportunity for kind of a repeat of Monstein's backhand blow, but a year later. So that's in C3I number 32. Other good stuff in that issue, including a couple games. When I led up on the whole idea of counterfactual history, I wrote that up in C3I number 31, and just point this out to readers. In that case, I was looking at Normandy 44 and a possible case where the 12th SS Panzer Division was on the bluffs of Omaha, and how that might affect that scenario.
That would have been bad.
Yes, it would have been bad. And I talked about how there's 3 different genres of counterfactual history. Actually, speculative fiction is the word to use. There's alternative history, which is kind of like the Guns of the South that Harry Turtledove does, where you have a whole different universe, but in a historical setting. Then there's historical fiction, like Patrick O'Brien does with his Master and Commander series, where you have real players, but alternative fictional characters interacting with them. And then counterfactual history, which is really that came from the What If series of articles that were published about 10 to 15 years ago on the whole idea of just changing one variable and seeing how that would play out. And then we add in tabletop gaming as a way to check in and see if those variables would have been as the author wrote that. And that's the fun part, taking a book and then testing it in the game strategy. Can I mention my first design? Which was Labyrinth the Awakening. So you and I went to GMT. It was September of 2014. We rode up in your Tesla. What a fun trip that was.
That was great.
Both of us were newbies
right.
at that event.
And talked war games every minute of the 6 hours.
And Treg was with us.
Yes.
That was a great trip.
And he politely listened to us talk.
He did. And we met Volko there. He was there along with Gene and a lot of other designers. And I threw the idea out to Volko that the recent Arab Spring that had transpired in 2010, 11, 12 could be played out on Labyrinth. And he hardly knew who I was. You know, it was the first time we were there. But I told him I had an idea, and he just took a chance and said, run with it. You know, send me your ideas. And so I did. You know, wrote up a 2-page prospectus, sent it to him that very same week. Started working on event cards. And then over a 2-year period of time, this, what I thought would be 20 or 30 event cards, became a whole new deck of 120 event cards, became a full-blown expansion to Labyrinth. Labyrinth covered 2001 to 2009. I added 2010, which was really through 2005, and now we're 2015. Now we're working on Labyrinth 3, which will cover the next 5 years, 2015 through to 2020. So we got those 120 cards made, and of course it's very much a Trump deck. You've got a lot of flavor from our friend in the Oval Office, but it's also the high watermark of ISIS and what they're doing. And you know, there's a lot of challenges related to designing a current events game, and one of them, of course, is, are you going to be accurate? You know, you're looking at things some of the cards I've designed are designed the day the event happens. And so you don't really have the historical context to see how it played out. Nevertheless, in my mind, it allows us to look at something in a different way. These event cards are kind of ripped from the headline, so to speak. They're published within, in some cases, within the year that they occurred, or within just a few years. And they help us to think about the conflict in a different way, help us to think about what pressures are being faced by either side, by the different nations that are involved, maybe what solutions are out there that we couldn't think about, maybe strategies that both sides' adversaries are contemplating, and maybe help bring that out as a way of teaching that game and the subject matter to people. So it's an enjoyable thing for me.
That's great. What fun.
And I wonder if 1,000 years from now people will pick up the game and wonder what we thought about those conflicts real time.
It's interesting, right? I mean, the Battle of the Bulge was the Battle of the Bulge. We sit back, we look at it in its complete framing. Yeah. And you're doing this incrementally. And in South China Sea, the same thing, right? I mean, to some extent, it's changing.
Yes.
And so will the game rapidly be overtaken by events and maybe not be relevant? Or will it be very interesting to see what happened during that time? It's a good question.
Or will you have event cards 5 years from now, so that,
right,
you know, some
right.
other variable that comes up to
Right.
change it dramatically,
Right.
like we had with the Arab Spring. Another thing I'm working on is what we're calling Sandbox right now. It is a 6-player coin game on the Syrian Civil War. So this is the second version of the playtest map, so by no means is this the final version. But what we have is a map of Iraq, 2 major cities, Basra, Baghdad, and then Syria, major cities of Damascus, Aleppo, and Mosul, and 6 different factions that are fighting primarily in Syria, including the rise of ISIS in the center part. And you'll note Baghdad is a 9-factor city. This is by far the largest population center in this area, but also in the game, if you don't count the big cities that are in the Gandhi series, that's the largest game in any of the largest city in any of the coin games by population. These are 1 million figures for population. And so the interesting thing about this, and let me scroll this over so you can see it, is as a 6-player coin game, how do you do that? And so I've toyed around with the idea of the fact that you're going to have six factions toying for who goes first. And depending on what action they choose to do that turn, it then sets up, their pieces will move up for the next card play. So you have the active card and then the upcoming card. And those cards are not, any faction could play them. It's not tied to one, and there's no faction order listed across the top of the card as we see in other games.
So no sequence on the card.
No sequence at all. So it allows for much variety in gameplay. And then you're kind of posturing, if you want to go first or second on the next card, you're going to choose an option that gives you very little options to do things on the current card, or operations in that sense. And so it's a fun little thing we've tested out, and we're still working on the deck for this. But a lot of the research I did on Labyrinth 2 and 3 plays right into this conflict, and so we'll add that in.
Very cool. Tons of interest, tons of discussion. I'm sure that much will be generated. So
yeah,
looking forward to seeing how this all plays out and to get to play test it here in town.
Yeah, agreed. And you know, we got a real treasure with Jason Carr being the new developer for the Coin series. He's done well on the cards and the map making tools, and just made it really easy for us as designers to just send him ideas. And in this case, I drew this map out on a piece of paper and sent it to him, and boom, there it is.
Right. Well, you can argue that Volko made a bet, but Volko got Carr involved. Volko got you involved. He's, that's part of his genius, I think.
That's a good point.
Pulling it all in.
Letting people run with an idea, find success, and then repeating.
Right, absolutely. Well, thanks for coming by and doing this video summary and doing the podcast. Always great to see you.
You too. Thanks, Earl.
Thanks.
Another week, another show. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to my patrons. Please, if you're not one, think of being one. Look, next week's another week. Who knows what may come down or up or whatever. I'll see you next week. I actually have this game. I'm yet to get to play. I'm yet to get it on the table so I can play it. 9 battle